Good evening, everybody. It's great to see this room so full. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for coming. This is if you all are joining us online or on Facebook Live or YouTube, we've got kind of a full house. It's great to see. So welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. I hope your year is off to a great start. So one of the first things we wanted to do, I think he was mentioned in the Christmas dinner, and I couldn't make it, but our condolences out to longtime member Bill Johnston, who passed away, and recently Jerry Detweiler passed away. So we're kind of like a family, so it hurts when we lose people, especially people we've known so well. So our condolences, and. Yeah, well, we could say, I'm sure there's lots and lots of stories. So if you all know console the families, and we'll all be there one day, right? And let's face it, look around the guild. Some of us are older than others. So I used to think I was young, but maybe in relative terms, I still am. But I've got plenty. I don't have much hair left, and what I have is pretty white. Do we have any new members? I feel like we've got some new ones. I've met a couple of people. All right. Round of applause. Thank you all for coming out. And as far as membership, I know not to steal the thunder, but the renewals are out, and you've got until the end of January to get your discount to get renewed. And if you don't renew by the end of February, you're not a member anymore. Then you have to retake all your training and your certifications. So encourage everyone. I'm speaking to myself. I haven't renewed yet, so better do that. You all know me well enough now, and if you haven't met me, my name's Calvin. I'm serving on the board now with several other people that do a lot more work than I do, but we usually get through these meetings, and one of the things I like to do is get through them quickly. So we're gonna switch things up a little bit tonight, because our presenter from Odie's Oil is actually going to join us via online, and he's a couple of time zones ahead of us. So we're going to do the quick program, then we're going to go to our presentation, and then we'll take a break then and come back and do show and tell. Is everybody okay with that? So now we're just going to go through the officers' reports. Mike McCauley, our VP, is not here because he's still recovering. I think he's doing gaining strength, and I'm sure we'll see his face around here soon. I'm sure he's been around as well, but not here tonight. David Roth, anything to report? Nothing to report. Craig, is Craig here tonight? I haven't seen Craig.
Craig just chimed in online. He's at home with back pain and wishing us all well, and he's watching online.
Okay. Well, Craig, we wish you well as well. Gary is also not feeling well, so we've got a few of our mainstays are out tonight, so we'll have to carry on. Chuck, back there in the back, do you have any goodies for sale? I know you have a bench to sell, a grinder of some sort. That's if you may need to go back there and find out what it is and who made it, because it doesn't have a name on it. It may be to sharpen circular saw blades, we might think. So go back and check that out, and you might want to just take that one home. Brian, communications, anything to report?
No, sir.
Nothing's to report. Newsletter, I don't think Ron is here, but again, Ron did a great job on the newsletter. He always does it. As I would say, the newsletter is only as good as the articles that get put in it. And if you all have something cool you're working on, or something cool you're going to see, you're on vacation, you see some woodworking or something, feel free, take some pictures, shoot us an article. It's not just for board members it's all of our newsletter. And I think the newsletter is a wonderful thing that we have. I think most of you all will agree. But if you got something cool that you want to write an article, please submit that to Ron or to our communications committee. Don from the library, anything special? I know you're selling books and magazines. Mostly books. The books are $1 each. Is that right? I hope I didn't just discount you. Okay. And magazines. What's that? We take donations as well. There's some great books back there. I haven't gone through them this month, but I will get over there. And magazines typically 5 for $1. So I've said this before, but I remember trying to hunt down all the back issues of Fine Woodworking, and I was so excited to get them in the mail order. And now hard to give them away. So as far as social media, please keep checking us out and interacting at Facebook. We have a Facebook page and we have a Facebook group. We have an Instagram page, so you can see those links up there. We do have a Twitter account, and there's great YouTube videos. Megan, do you have something? Okay. So YouTube videos, there's great videos. We usually put our skill builders. A lot of those are online. Almost all of our monthly meetings are online, and other things. So check that out. Podcasts, which Kevin may talk about, they are also on our YouTube page. So don't forget to, when you go there, subscribe, hit the like button. So Kevin, do you want to come up and talk about the podcast, and you can talk about training as well?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Kevin Thomas. I'm the training director. So we've got some a couple of new classes that just posted with our favorite Wayne Peterson. He's there's two classes by him listed right now. Inlay classes. One is a weekend class, and the other one is during the week in the evening. So I think the weekend class is full, and the other one's still available. We're going to have some classes coming up on scroll sawing with George Rexroad. And let's see, I keep trying to get the guy behind me to teach something, but he's difficult to nail down. As for the podcast, we are now available on Google Podcasts, so you can also find us there. But if you want to see everybody, Mike and Grace and I in our living glory, you have to go on the YouTube channel. And there's been some good discussions. We just recorded one on Sunday, so it should be posted at some time soon.
What was the topic, Kevin, for Sunday?
You. Yeah, we were talking about you.
Well, that's probably the most interesting one you've had.
It was what's your favorite tool, and we also did a small review on from 3M extract sanding discs. So, but if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast out there, somebody get with Chris McCauley. He'll be glad to set you up, or Dwayne Miller too. No, that you're the sponsorship director. Dwayne's trying to deny it, but we just started basic woodworking, and it's going great. And up until that, it's all yours.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for always all the work putting together the training, and for all the instructors. We appreciate. There's a lot of volunteers that put a lot of time into it, so you all are very much appreciated. So thank you, and I will try to come up with some sort of a class this year. So if anybody has got it, you're familiar with my work, you think I should do something, come let me know, because trying to find out what to teach might be more difficult, because I tend to shoot for more difficult projects, and they're very hard to maintain sort of momentum when they're a little more involved. Chris McCauley, you want to talk about events and the AV work you need?
So for AV, I'm always looking for some help if anyone's available. Some of the help I need has absolutely nothing to do with stuff here. You can do it from your own home. One thing I'd really like to get done is updating the descriptions and hashtags. So all you have to do is really watch the YouTube videos and write down times of when someone does a show and tell and details, and then we can get that descriptions put up so make the videos easier to search for content, and that really help out a lot. But always could use some help with camera work or even help me with other things on the AV. So always looking for some help. If anyone's available, I will always take it. Events, we do have some events in the work. Most of them are going to be in late summer and early fall, I believe. So some pretty fun stuff coming up. Be looking for that. More information this summer.
All right, thanks, Chris. Should have mentioned this when Kevin was up here before, but if you all are familiar with Popular Woodworking magazine, you might want to check out the latest issue, or is it available online as well?
Right now it's just available. You got to buy it.
So if you get Popular Woodworking, look for an article by our own Kevin Thomas. So it's about sharing the craft and being involved with the guild, as mentioned. So pretty. Thank you for doing that, and congratulations on getting your article in the magazine.
Thank you.
So running down the list, so Jim Berard membership, we're up to 1,030 members currently. So we've got a good chunk of you all are here tonight. So pretty nice. And Jim, I don't know if you have anything else to say. I already talked about renewing. If you haven't renewed, like myself, get out there and do it. And if you're new, welcome to the guild. Just it's what makes the guild so great. We have such an amazing group of members, and that can learn from each other, teach each other, good camaraderie, sharing the craft of what we enjoy, right? Because let's face it, my wife doesn't want to talk about woodworking every day. Matt, do you want to talk about programs? So tonight we do have, what is the man's name from Odie's Oil? Tom. So he will be joining us in a program online here after the program. We're moving pretty quickly. As far as safety, we do have orientation on the 11th. I think that's been scheduled. So if you're looking to get certified to use the shop, if you're a new member, the next orientation is on the 11th. Go ahead, Mike.
You got me on, Chris? Because there were so many people signing up, we had 16 go through the last orientation last Saturday. We've added a second orientation. It was supposed to be on the 21st. And there's something else going on that day. Most people are interested in watching the Chiefs play in the playoffs. So I think we're alerting everybody. They had 9 people signed up for that orientation. We're going to move it to the 29th, Sunday the 29th. And that way you won't miss the Chiefs game.
And I just said 11th. The 11th has already passed, so.
Yeah, you're a little. We'll get you caught up.
I'm just like Ron Burgundy. Just read the screen, you know.
My bad.
Yeah. So in the back for sponsorship, Megan, do you have an announcement? I just know we need raffle tickets to come back and go ahead.
One thing I will say with the presentation, please, if you have a question, either head to the mic on the stand or raise your hand, because mics will be mandatory.
Yes, absolutely, because he won't be able to hear you. So if you want to have a question, we'll have a few people with microphones going around. We'll definitely want you to talk on the microphone. Otherwise, it will be just like you're not talking. So definitely go back. Raffle tickets are open. During our break, we will draw, and there's some great prizes back there. Dwayne, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to remember that Amazon Smile, of course, always for what they do. The other one is a lot of times you're looking at the raffle table and you're seeing things that are coming from sponsors. Well, if you've got something at home that you haven't got a need for, if it's a tool, if it's a project that you did that your kids broke, whatever you wanted to do, we'll take those back on the raffle table too, and all the money from the raffle table goes to the guild. So this is a good way to get rid of some of that crap you have laying around the house so you can get some new crap to lay around the house.
All right, good advice. The skill builder was this past Saturday, and Wayne, I hear you did an amazing job. So thank you for doing that. Do we have any skill builders scheduled?
February skill builder will be Dave Kratz discussing jig making.
Dave Kratz and jigs. That should be an amazing one. So I'm sure
And-
that will be very popular.
Cal. The skill builders, I have started streaming those online as well. So if you missed Wayne's class, you can go back and watch those on our YouTube channel.
That's awesome because I missed that, so I'm be happy to check that out. Now it's the time we talk about our SIGs, which are special interest groups. We have several groups that have gone in for very sort of niche types crafts. I haven't seen Rob tonight, but the hand tools. Anyone here representing the hand tool SIG tonight? It meets on the fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. So I'm assuming that's still on. The next one, the carvers. Dan, do you have anything special scheduled? Fourth Tuesday of every month. Go ahead, Dan.
Fourth Tuesday of every month. And we concentrate on power carving, traditional carving, and pyrography.
So bring anything in you want to work on if you want to carve.
Or you're stumped on something, we'll do what we can to help you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, laser engraver. That's typically run by Curtis. You want to talk about the laser?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. We meet next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock.
Hold your mic closer.
And so if you care to join us, we're going to talk about some things. Did some Kamuka, I can't even pronounce it right, but take a look at the joints on that, would you? And tell me what you think about that. But
That's pretty sharp. It look this would almost pass for Wayne's work.
that is one piece of wood.
That's amazing.
So we'll be talking about doing that. And also for Valentine's, we're going to do some long stem roses. So if you're interested in doing that.
Come over and get in front of the.
All right.
So this is the. Cal behind you. Behind me. That way. So there's the cutout that was done on the laser, and we've done a lot of the traditional Kumiko joinery, and that's an amazing way to do it with the laser.
I learned from Craig.
So these are some roses that were cut out. So it's very cool to learn how to do that. So
join us, and we're going to do this as our project. And also, if you want to be trained for the laser, we'll do that right after the SIG. So come that night, and anybody that wants to, we'll train you.
that's the fourth Wednesday of the month at 7. So that would be next Wednesday, a week from today. Scroll saw SIG. George, anything to talk about? Or nothing to report? You're still having it the second Wednesday of the month at 7, which is last Wednesday. So, okay, so the next one will be in February. And then CNC or Gary or Ed. Here, Ed's here, yep.
The CNC continues to expand the number of members that are, okay, Mike says to come over and stand in front of the camera. I didn't want to break it, so.
Keep coming. Keep coming.
But yeah, I told you it happened. We continue to have a number of people that are interested in the CNC. They are starting to work their projects up. If anybody here is interested, just send an email to cnc@kcwg.org and request information on getting started, and you'll get a response from one of the 3 instructors, and we'll be happy to help you work through and help you learn some of the intricacies of the machinery and some of the fun that you can have with it. So we meet the 3rd Tuesday of each month, 6:30, over here in the library. So we met last night, but another month and we'll be doing it again.
All right, thank you, Ed. So I think that basically covers the meet. And Mike, do you have another announcement?
Yeah, many of you will recall the discussion several months back about the flag cases and ash urns for KC Hospice that we honor veterans program. I just talked with Cindy this week, and they need 6 of each. So we're going to be putting an email blast out to the membership announcing a date that we'll be processing material. We still got the white oak from the National Cemetery. We'll be processing, getting that stuff into a usable form that we can start making flag cases. So if you're interested in learning how or interested in participating in that program, you'll be getting an email here pretty soon. We'll be using Odie's oil. Just saying.
All right, so Odie's, that's a perfect segue to go to our program. I don't know, Chris, do we need to do anything more to announce? I guess we're going to just turn it over to you, and we'll watch via Zoom.
All right, I think you're live. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
All right, we can hear you, so you're up.
Okay, I'm just seeing myself back in the screen, but that's okay, I suppose. How's everybody doing? It's Matthew here. Yes, sir. I'm a long time. Look at all the people there. Fantastic. So I'm a long time user of Odie's oil, a personal user, been using it for many, many years. And more recently, for the last few years, am the head of technical support for the company. I help run their social media and work pretty tightly under the wing of James Tingatilla, the founder and owner, creator of Odie's Oil. So I guess I'm just going to give a brief description of kind of the thought process kind of behind what Odie's Oil is. And that really all starts with, when we're speaking of woodworking, that's a tree and wood, of course. So, you know, from a sapling till the whole life of a tree, it has, you know, one major function that it does, and that is carrying water and nutrients up the tree in the cellulose fibers of the wood. Once the tree is matured or it's dying or salvaged, we then take that wood, suck all that moisture out of it, dry it, get it equalized with the environment, and then we need to finish it. And Odie's Oil is made up of natural oils and waxes, and essentially we're replenishing and nourishing the wood, putting these oils and waxes back home in the wood. And I know that there's Odie's being used quite a lot there in some projects. I heard the flag boxes, urns, and now some dining tables among some other products. And when we're thinking about Odie's Oil, this is a true penetrating hard wax oil. And its whole purpose is to nourish the cellulose fibers of the wood, penetrate and saturate into the wood fibers. And then we remove any and all excess from the surface until completely dry to touch. So this is a finish that resides in the wood and not on the wood. So it's a bit different way of thinking. If you're, have experience with film forming finishes that provide more of a shell coating on the wood, Odie's is really a true hard wax oil that resides in the wood. And there's some major advantages to a finish that operates that way. It's at home in the wood, and it's a true cross-linking and molecular bond. So if you didn't know, tongue oil is the main ingredient in Odie's oil. It's a tongue oil-based finish, but it's not just your average tongue oil. James has been he started creating this finish many decades ago as a young man. I think even 12 years old is when he first started, playing around with making his own finishes. And what he's been able to do over the years is take tongue oil, which is like the finest curing oil available to us on this beautiful planet, and he's naturally modified it and enhanced it to really make it a super tongue oil, not unlike your just normal regular raw tongue oil. And of course, with the proprietary blend of other essential oils and waxes, it's really a super oil. So super cross-linking and molecular bond. And this is why it's described a lot as a universal finish. So Odie's not only works on wood, but it works on leather, works on concrete, works on metal, works on plastic, vinyl, all kinds of different things because of that true molecular bond. And what that really means, so you get a really good understanding, is so when you apply Odie's to leather, let's say, it cross-links and bonds with the leather, mimicking the qualities of the leather, becoming one with the leather. And when Odie's cures, because all the Odie's finishes are curing finishes, it takes on the qualities of the leather. So it stays soft and supple like leather. When you put Odie's into concrete, it cross-links and bonds molecularly with the concrete and takes on the properties of the concrete. It dries super fast and it dries hard like concrete, becoming one with it. And it does the same thing with wood. It becomes one with the wood, living harmonious within the surface of the wood. So when you really think about it, you're saturating the fibers of the wood with the oil. It cross-links, it bonds, it cures with the absorption of oxygen. And what you're left with is this finish that's residing inside of the wood. And the only way to wear away an Odie's finish is to wear the wood away itself. And that's the big difference to a real hard wax oil. And even some of these, other kind of so-called hard wax oils that have part 2 catalysts and hardeners added to them. Odie's contains no hardeners, no catalyst. It uses what you apply it to, whether it being the wood, the metal, the leather, the plastic, that becomes the catalyst for the Odie's to cure. And that's really the interesting thing. And a question that kind of comes up that's kind of related to this whole topic of the molecular bond, we advocate that there are no sanding restrictions with Odie's. You can sand up as high as you like. And really the sheen of your workpiece is primarily dictated by the sanding. The higher you sand, the higher the sheen. The lower you sand, the lower the sheen. And that's your primary dictation of sheen. And there's the saying out there that like, well, if I sand the wood up too high, the oil isn't going to penetrate or it's not going to work properly. And that's not true when we're talking about Odie's oil. I think that way of thinking is more directed towards finishes that do contain catalysts, because those kinds of finishes need a scratch pattern to actually mechanically grab onto, something to latch onto. As where Odie's is penetrating into the cellulose fiber of the wood itself. The wood, remember, is a sponge. It was carrying water up and down It's trunk its entire life now. If you sand a piece of wood to 120 and you sand a piece of wood to 1,000 grit and pour some water on them, the piece that's sanded to 1,000 is still going to get wet with water. It's going to suck that water in, and the Odie's oil is going to do the same thing. And this is another reason, like you don't have to sand in between coats like a traditional finish that contains a hardener. You have to sand in between coats so that next coat has a sanding scratch pattern to latch onto, to mechanically grab onto, and Odie's will cross-link and bond molecularly with itself over and over and over again. And I'd like to maybe show you some examples of some pieces I have here that are sanded up to some different grits, so you can get a really good idea of the capabilities of that. See if I can figure out how to turn this around. Here we go. So here's some different examples. Now, if you're not aware, Odie's has two lineups. There's an Odie's clear line, and then there's the Odie's dark line. And so here's a nice representation of the Odie's original and the Odie's dark on some nice white oak. The dark line of products is just made of naturally darker oils and waxes, where there's no pigments, there's no dyes, there's no stains. It's just taking advantage of the naturally darker oils and waxes from the plants it's derived from. And it's a reactive and oxidizing finish. So it kind of works in the conjunction with the tannins in the wood. So the higher the tannin level in the wood, like white oak, walnut, mahogany, some of these other high tannin woods, there's more of the reaction. And it's an oxidizing finish. So it will continue to kind of richen, age, darken, and patina with exposure. And this is kind of what it looks like after it's had some time being exposed there. So now here's a piece of bird's eye maple, and this is sanded up very, very high to 1,000 grit. And you can see the beautiful kind of reflective sheen qualities. You can get a very, very high polish, and the wood is still protected because of that penetration. The Odie's has nice natural UV inhibitors, and they will help keep woods like Purple Heart and Paduke that nice natural color with minimal oxidizing qualities. This was finished like 2 years ago, and you can still see it's got that nice rich purple color. There's a pigment line that you can add some pigments directly into the oil and create stains with, and all kinds of possibilities with different sheens in terms of what you sand it to. This was sanded up very, very high and different. This was hand planed finish and all kinds of different finishes. So as we like to say, no restrictions and no limitations to what you can achieve with your finish. You know, the Odie's lineup of finishes really is a whole system of finishes that work together. You have the super penetrating oil, the butter, the wax. I'm not sure how much time I have here to go and describe each one of those finishes, but I can a quick general overview. The super penetrating oil is representative of its name, super penetrating. It offers the ultimate in stability of the wood, reducing moisture gain and loss throughout humidity changes, high levels of dry and wet conditions. So it's going to help minimize that absorption and loss of moisture, helping keep the wood very stable, keeping the movement and expansion and contraction of the wood to the minimum. And it also provides the ultimate in clarity. The original Odie's oil, which I'm sure you're all familiar with that use it. This is the staple product, the go-to. It has the most overlap of all the qualities of the lineup kind of all together in that one jar. So if you were to just choose one product to try, I would always just recommend the original Odie's oil. It has kind of the full embodiment of all the qualities kind of wrapped up in one. And as you kind of get outside into the various finishes, it has a little more specialized of the nuances and the little things that it can achieve. You have the wood butter, and then the Odie's wax. The butter is essentially like a hybrid blend between the oil and the wax, having advantages of the hard wax oil and the wax all in one. So it gives you a nice build, adds sheen, depth, and luster when you're using it over top of an Odie's finish. When you're using it all on its own, because it is a standalone finish in its own right, it's going to reside a little higher in the wood fibers, thus giving you a little less color change. The deeper an oil penetrates into the wood, the more natural colors it's going to draw out of the wood. So if you have a finish that resides a little higher in the wood fibers, a little less color change. And then the wax, of course, it's the highest purity, no expenses spared, best old school hard paste wax. And you have that in the light original clear version and in the dark version as well. And then we have the kind of newly released product, the Super Duper oil, which is it's a product that James has been personally using for many, many years, but just released it, maybe a year and a half ago. It's a wonderful product, very similar to a Danish oil in looks and in application. So it's a little bit of a thinner version of Odie's. It has a little more warmth to it and a little lower lustrous, and it works fantastic with the pigments, the pure powdered pigments. These are refined metals of the earth, fully oxidized, completely stable. These will not fade. You can use the pigments in essentially all of the finishes, but they work really hand in hand with the Super Duper oil for a quick, easy to use wipe on, wipe off stain. I think that is kind of wraps up what I have to say is an introduction to Odie's and the kind of thought process. Oh, and of course, the complete lineup and real main motto and mission of Odie's oil coming from James is for all these products to be very, completely food safe. No gloves needed, no masks needed. Very, very important to us about having that safety with all the products. I guess if there's some questions, I'd be more than happy to take some questions and go from there.
We got some questions from online. Craig got two questions here. One is, are the pigments and oils soluble powder?
Okay, so, well, they're not really soluble, no. So these are they're refined metals of the earth. These are earth pigments. So the titanium white is titanium. The blue is cobalt. The green is chromium. The browns and these are ferrous oxides. So what kind of how they work, they're not like a dye where a dye would be soluble. The pigments, are finely ground, and the oil is the binder. So the pigments bind to the oil, and then the oil bonds to the wood, and that's kind of how the pigments work in staining. So they are a true pigment, and the oil is the binder for the pigments to latch onto, as for the delivery into the wood surface.
That kind of touches, I think, on his next question is, can you use universal tints like Minwax tinting paste in the oil?
It's a good question. I would be wary of using some kinds of other tints because some of them may contain glycol or other things. And I would be a little hesitant to use them because they may have some kind of effect on the curing of Odie's. That's what I would, but if they're a pure pigment with no additives, I would say they would be safe to use. But if they have other additives, Um, I would run some tests, I guess, before doing a project with a pigment outside of our system.
He's correct me. I said Mixol, M-I-X-O-L,
Mix.
Mixol.
Mixol, yeah. So
Yeah,
Mixol
not
definitely
Mixlax.
does
He corrected
contain
me.
glycol. Yeah.
Sorry, Craig, I'm not wearing my glasses.
Yeah, so the Mixol pigments do contain ethyl glycol.
So, generally speaking, oils are known to darken woods over quite a long period of time. Does Odie's oil then darken a wood?
So Odie's does have natural UV inhibitors. So as like I kind of showed you the difference between the Odie's oil and the Odie's dark. The Odie's dark definitely is going to darken the wood. That's its intention. The original Odie's oil is very, very good at maintaining a very, it's clear curing. Odie's is non-yellowing. It's been clarified through the special processes in how the oil is prepared. And it doesn't darken the wood other than the natural darkening that it does upon application. Of course, it's going to change the color of the wood upon application. But in terms of darkening with age, I would say that it doesn't really darken with age, but it depends on the wood itself. Some woods, well, most woods are photosensitive. So you have woods that are naturally themselves are going to darken with age, like cherry, mahogany, things like this. And then you have woods that are going to be photosensitive in the other direction, where they're actually going to get sun faded and sun bleached, like walnut gets lightened and fades with the UV exposure. So, you know, ultimately, if something is subjected to a lot of UV, no matter what finish you have on the wood, the sun always wins. But the oil itself does not yellow over time, so it doesn't have an ambering effect unless you're using the dark liner products, which does that intentionally. For the ultimate UV protection, especially for exterior work or something that you know is going to be subjected to direct sunlight in a south-facing window, our pigments are great UV, offers great UV protection, because these are metals. They're essentially reflecting the harmful radiation and acting like sunscreen in the wood. So you could add a little bit of the titanium white and give you a next level of UV protection.
On the white oak, it's common to use ammonia. I personally use household ammonia to darken the white oak. After Odie's oil is put on, does that prevent that fuming or that darkening from happening, or can the darkening still happen through the Odie's oil?
Well, if you're doing that process before the Odie's is applied, I don't think it would stop that process from occurring unless it's relying on an outside source for that reaction to happen that the Odie's may inhibit. I don't have personal experience with using pneumonia in that fashion, so I can't confidently answer that question directly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it works through like a shellac finish. One other question I have is, how well is Odie's oil for, say, a kitchen floor? Kitchens get an awful lot of traffic. And so would you put down 1 layer, 2, 3 coatings of Odie's oil on a kitchen floor?
Yeah, good question. So, you know, Odie's oil is first and foremost a floor finish. So James, the creator of Odie's, was a hardwood flooring manufacturer, and he specialized in exotic wide plank flooring. We're talking 18, 20, 22-inch single wide plank floors up to 15, 16, 20-foot lengths. And he was able to do those types of floors because of the amazing stability properties that Odie's provides without the wood warping, cupping, and all these things. So it was really, you know, intended for flooring. And one proper application of Odie's oil with a floor buffer on the floor is all you need, and that will provide the ultimate protection and durability in terms of stabilization, waterproofing it, stain proofing it, all of these things. And the typical Odie's finished floor will go on average around 10 years before ever needing any kind of maintenance. So remember, the oil is penetrating into the wood, cross-linking, bonding molecularly within the surface of the wood itself. So the only way to wear it away is to wear the wood away itself. And the wood, because the Odie's also has some densifying qualities to it, it hardens inside the wood as it gains oxygen, as it cures. It actually gets harder and densifies the wood to a certain point. So the wood itself is far more durable than a coating that you put over the wood. So to wear the wood away is going to take a very, very long time and a lot of wear and tear. And the beautiful thing is that if and when it does come time that the floor is starting to look a little tired, you simply just apply another very light coat and buff it off. But yes, on a kitchen floor, one properly applied coat of Odie's oil is all you need.
So I guess that brings up another question. Does Odie's oil stabilize wood so it does not shrink laterally as it normally would without any treatment?
Yes, it's a very, very good wood stabilizer. In fact, a lot of green to finished wood turners will use Odie's for this purpose. So you can actually stabilize green wood and really slow down the drying process and help mitigate any of those checking and cracking and all those things. And of course, in a nice air dried or kiln dried piece of wood, like I said, the oils are going home into the wood. It is a penetrating finish. The oil penetrates deep into the wood, essentially, replacing those cells of the wood fibers that used to carry water up and down the tree. And then once the oil cures, it is a very, very good wood stabilizer. It's advertised right on the jar, wood stabilizer. So yes, it is very good at stabilizing the wood, minimizing and inhibiting checking, warping, cupping, wood movement, expansion and contraction. Of course, the wood, if put in extreme conditions of high humidity and low humidity, it's still going to move. You can't stop that completely, but Odie's will minimize that and giving it the best chance possible when subjected to extreme conditions.
Would you recommend it for musical instruments, acoustic musical instruments as a finish?
Absolutely. We have many luthiers using Odie's oil. In fact, we have, there's a few guys that are finishing their acoustic guitars inside and out. They're actually finishing the entire guitar with Odie's, and they have found that it stabilizes the wood so well when you finish the entire guitar inside and out. You don't even have to keep it in a case with humidity control, because the wood it doesn't move. So it's a very, very interesting thing. There's a fellow on Instagram, JW Guitar. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Let me quick look. If you're on Instagram, you can check him out. Fantastic, beautiful work. JWA Guitars. Phenomenal guitars. He sells them all over the world, and he finishes them inside and out, never keeps them in a case.
It almost sounds like PEG 1000, a long polymer chain is what you have.
Yeah, PEG, that's the polyethylene glycol, right? Yeah. Maybe it provides some of the same qualities, but it's a completely different product in itself, I suppose. But very, very good wood stabilizer, that's for sure.
Jim, you had a question back there?
Yeah, can you apply Odie's oil over a water-based stain or an oil-based stain and still have it effective?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, you can. The only thing I would recommend is to just maybe run some tests and do some samples. You want to just make sure that stain has had adequate time to dry properly. But again, with that true cross-linking and molecular bond, Odie's works essentially over anything you apply it to. So like the wood, metal, leather, plastic, pottery. I actually detail my car with Odie's oil. The outside of my car, it will bead water for many, many months. I do the leather, the dash, the inside, the outside. So it not only bonds to all those things, but other stains, which is no problem. It will even work over other finishes to kind of fix and tune up some other finishes if you don't want to get into doing a complete strip down. The only disadvantage to putting Odie's over another finish is that finish then becomes the barrier between the Odie's and the raw wood fibers. And if it happens to be the weak link, there's no, preventing that failure or shortcomings from happening, but it will work over those other finishes, yes, and including stains.
Two questions from online. They're kind of connected. One says, Odie's website shows a butter. What's the best way to apply? And I think this is the other one's referring to, like when you're talking about the application on the floor, what is a proper application?
A proper application, yeah. So we'll start the proper application on the floor. So typically with a floor, you choose your sanding grit, which you're going to sand your floor to, generally that is, about a 120 grit with your floor sander. Now sanding and the prep of the floor is of utmost importance with a finish like Odie's oil. It's going to show you any mistakes. So if you missed a spot or you skipped a grit and you didn't sand everything and prepare the floor just beautifully, there's no real hiding that. So it kind of forces you to become, very particular and thorough with your preparation of your surface, whether it's a floor, a piece of furniture, or whatever it may be. Very important to have a very, pristinely prepared surface. And what I mean by properly applied is typically you're going to use a janitor's buffer, a floor buffer to apply the finish. And you would apply it using a red non-woven pad. And then you would remove the product using a white pad. So what I mean by properly applying is using the appropriate amount of oil and technique to apply the finish into the floor. So Odie's, this little jar is you gotta look at it as a super concentrated finish. There are no solvents in here. There's nothing to evaporate. This little 9-ounce jar on, say, a white oak floor is going to cover about 225 square feet once your pad is saturated. So you get your pad saturated with oil. Once the pad is saturated, you're going to get about 200 plus 225 square feet of coverage out of this little jar. So you want to take that seriously and ensure that you're getting that coverage. You don't want to use too much. The biggest mistake people do is use too much oil. And then don't get it all off. So you work the finish into the floor slowly with the machine, healing the machine, driving it into the floor, getting that appropriate coverage. Once it's all worked in, then you come back and most crucially is to remove any and all excess finish from the surface until it is completely dry to touch. So you got to remember the Odie's is a finish that resides in the wood, not on the wood. So we work it in, get the wood to the point of full saturation to where it's not accepting any more oil, and then any excess or residual oil beyond that point gets removed from the surface until completely dry to touch. And that would be a successful, proper application of the finish.
Is Odie's food safe?
Completely food safe, yes. Completely food safe, non-toxic, and made from food grade ingredients.
So, Tom, I've had a question from my wife. I've never had her come to me after I've been using conversion varnish to ask if there was any way to bottle and sell that odor. She walks
Right.
into my shop when I'm using Odie's, and she says they've got to be able to bottle that and sell that as a perfume.
Yes. It smells like a day at the spa. Sorry. So what was the question, or was there a question?
Tell James and Mike that it might be worthwhile looking into that.
Yes, well, we've had many requests for Odie's candles. They may come one day, but James is, the Odie's oil is growing very fast. We're global. We're expanding daily. James is in the process right now of building a new 30,000 square foot facility, and has a lot on his plate with, he still hand brews every batch of Odie's oil himself. This is, family run, made in, still made by the man himself. But yes, I agree. We could all use an Odie's candle. It is a very, very pleasant aroma and smell that the 99% of people out there absolutely love it.
Where can we pick up Odie's oil?
Where can you pick up Odie's oil? That's the question. Yes.
Yeah. Where if we want to get it for our projects, where can we buy it?
Yeah, good question. So of course it's available at odiesoil.com on their website, and there is a complete list of all the dealers in the States, and of course globally on the website. There's a complete dealer list there. But I know they are. So I'm Canadian. I'm up here in Canada, but I think in the States they're in all the, they're in the Rockler, Woodcraft, all those kinds of things. You can get it on Amazon. Peachtree sells it on Amazon, and there's many local dealers throughout the country. There's no way I could list them all, but odiesoil.com, either directly from Odie's, or you can find the dealers list very easily on the website with a complete list of everywhere you can get the products.
If we order directly from the website, is there a coupon code for guild members?
That's a good question. That's something I could look into. I'm the tech guy, so I don't have that particular answer on the spot.
Yeah, question. It doesn't sound like there's a dry time between applying and removing. You just put it on and take it off?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's not really a dry time. You can put it on and buff it off right away. What I typically recommend is about the 45-minute to 60-minute mark. So you apply it. This gives the oil some time to kind of saturate and soak into the wood and impregnate deep into the wood. So I like to wait approximately 45 minutes to an hour, work it in, wait 45 minutes to an hour, and then come back and buff off. That's kind of the sweet spot. Of course, you can work it in and buff it off sooner, and you could leave it on longer, up to 3+ hours. The longer you leave it on the surface, it's just the little more challenging to get that residual oil off the surface, because it is a hyper cross-linking finish, and it will start cross-linking with the oxygen and start getting a little tougher to get that excess off. It'll start to polymerize on the surface. The 45 to 60 minute mark is the typical recommended amount of time to wait after the application, but there's no hard rules in how to use Odie's. That's just the kind of the guidelines on what we would recommend.
Question. Do you have smaller amounts than the 9-ounce jar that you could experiment with, as opposed to putting out the $60 for a 9-ounce jar?
Sorry, sir, I missed the first half of the question. It cut out a little bit.
His mic cut out. He asked if there's a smaller jar than the 9-ounce jar.
No, there's not. So I'll do a very quick explanation as to why. It comes back to that hyper cross-linking. Odie's loves oxygen. Okay, so it's vacuum packed in glass for a reason. It can't be packed in plastic. It can't be packed in aluminum tins. It will suck the oxygen right through those packaging and cure out into the jar. The 9-ounce jar is the perfect ratio of interior surface area to volume of product, where when it's vacuum sealed, it lasts very, 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 very long shelf life unopened. And even once opened, James has tried to package it in smaller containers. And what happens is that it just ends up curing out inside of the container. It doesn't work. So it's only available in the 9-ounce size, but it is a worthwhile investment because it goes so far, and you can use it on such an array of products around the house, everything from your wooden projects to your leather boots to the stone, to all these things. So it's so versatile that it's not limited to just one thing. That's what I try to say about it. But yeah, as for other sizes, nothing smaller than the 9-ounce jar.
What's the best product to apply it? Or the best
Good
way?
question. So these are non-woven pads. This is what we recommend to apply the finish. On our website, we carry these 4 particular pads. What we like to recommend is choosing a pad that is rated equal to or just higher than your last sanding grit. So there's some benefits of using the pad that is slightly abrasive, rated, equal to or just higher than your last sanding. It's going to help create a little bit of extra heat and friction as you're applying the finish, kind of massaging those wood fibers, helping to drive the oil down deep into the wood. And you're essentially wet sanding as you're applying the finish. So it's going to help even disguise any possible pigtails or any kind of sanding scratch pattern left behind from your sanding and the prep of the surface. The pads with their non-woven construction, don't really leave a distinct scratch pattern like your sanding discs would. So these pads, the maroon is rated 240 to 360. That's coming directly from the manufacturer. They don't give you a precise rating on what the pad is with one rating. It's 240 to 360. Then the ultra fine gray pad is rated 400 to 600 grit. Microfine gray pad is rated 800 to 1,000 grit. And then your white pad is non-abrasive, truly non-abrasive. I've used this on pieces sanded up to into the thousands of grits, and it does not leave a mark. This would be your choice if you're doing hand planed or hand scraped finishes where you don't want to alter your beautifully prepared surface if done by hand. So that's what we would recommend. Non-woven pad rated equal to or just higher than your last sanding grit.
So is that what you're going to use to buff it off as well?
No. So for the buff off, very, very important to get the product worked off of the surface completely. So no residual oil remaining on the surface whatsoever. And the best tool to use for removing the finish is a terry cotton towel, like an old bath towel. Get an old towel out of the linen closet, and that's what you're going to use to buff off the finish. It works fantastic. Picture trying to dry yourself off with a t-shirt, like a bag and a rag type of t-shirt material, or drying yourself off with a terry towel. The terry towel grabs that liquid and absorbs it and really gets it off the surface. So that's what I recommend. Terry cotton towel for removing the finish, constantly flipping the towel over to a new spot once it starts getting saturated and soaked with oil, and really make sure that you're removing that product. And a great way to tell that you've got all the finish removed from the surface is to gently swipe your fingers across the surface and look at it at a raking angle. And if you can't leave a finger mark or a greasy little shiny finger mark, no mark whatsoever, you've got all the products successfully removed from the surface.
Can you use Odie's on glass?
Yeah, good question. Possibly. I've never tried it on glass. Like, what are you thinking in terms of what are you looking to achieve from using it on the glass?
Basically, just like to protect the glass from any tiny children with their grubby little fingerprints.
Right. That I haven't got that question before. That's a good one. I I would think you could, because I've used it on so many other surfaces successfully that you could probably use it on glass too. Now, the amount of oil that you would have to use would be so minimal, very, very, very small amount of product. And then again, buff it off until it's dry to touch. Like, it works on the paint on my car, like beating the water. So, maybe that's a test I can do to try it on the portion of the windshield at some time. If you're going to attempt to use it on the glass, use the minuscule amount of product possible, work it out, spread it out as far as you can get that little bit to go, and then buff it completely off until there's nothing remaining on the surface. It will cross-link and bond molecularly within that surface. So you just got to remember that when using Odie's on a non-porous surface, that wait time is reduced to almost nothing, because we don't need to wait for the product to give it a chance to saturate and penetrate into the wood fibers, like on glass or metal. You can more or less work the product on and buff it off more or less right away in that case.
So once the jar is open, since it is vacuum packed and it is subject to oxidation, if you don't use the entire jar, then is there a shelf life, or do you have to put argon in there or something, or how do you protect it from oxidizing inside the jar?
Yeah, no, very good question. So yeah, once the jar is opened, it will start grabbing that oxygen. Now, if you only use a very small amount of the jar, there's only a very small amount of oxygen that can get in there. So it will take a very, very long time for, you might get a very, very small skin. I think that would take months to happen. But if you only have a 1/4 inch of oil left in the jar, that process is going to happen very much faster. So Odie's does sell Bloxygen, which is what you mentioned, pure argon gas, puts a blanket of argon gas over the finish, displaces the oxygen, and will essentially extend that shelf life more or less indefinitely if you keep it treated with Bloxygen. So yes, if you're using the product few and far between uses and it's going to be sitting up on the shelf for an extended period of time, I would recommend using argon or Bloxygen to preserve the finish.
On when you do furniture repairs, I'm thinking about gouges and stuff. What's going to be the process? Is it going to match up immediately if we use the exact same stain, or are we going to have to wait for it to match up?
Well, that's a good question. It really all depends on the wood and how far the wood has oxidized or been subjected to the UV. If it's cherry wood and it's 6 years old and it's been sitting on the sun, it's going to have this nice, dark, rich patina on it. Of course, the wood itself is going to have been oxidized. If you're sanding back down to bare wood to kind of, get a dent out or a scratch out, it's not really about the effectiveness of the finish matching the color. It's really the natural oxidizing of the wood itself to catch up and match within itself. That's more of, in my it's more of a quality of the wood and the exposure to the oxidization and the UV from the wood itself that's going to affect the matching of the color more so than the properties of the finish itself. I've done, very small repairs to a surface of a table that's been several years old and been abused, and it's starting to get a little bit of wear and tear. Of course, with an Odie's treated surface, you don't have to sand it off and start over again. The way I kind of look at my solid wood furniture is embracing kind of those nicks and dings and natural patina and character of the wooden surface. I find it makes it more beautiful with age, and you just kind of embrace and encompass all of that, and you give it a fresh coat of oil just to revitalize it. But I think your question is more direct if you're actually going in there and sanding off and removing a gouge or something. I think time is going to be your best friend in helping all the natural colors get caught up with each other. Because if you try to put some pigment in there and then stain it to get it matched, well, then in another 5 years, that is going to look different because it's going to age different than the rest of it will naturally.
So Thomas, I just recently built a large walnut farm table and finished it with Odie's. And I did 2 coats. My second coat, I went in and buffed it off with a large side wheel grinder device with a buffing pad on it. I would really like to reuse that buffing pad, but once that Odie's cured, there is no solvent that I've been able to put on it that actually cuts it and cleans it. Is there a solvent you recommend for cleanup?
So I'll make a couple comments on that. So the first one is that because you haven't found a solvent or anything that can remove the finish out of that bonnet, ultimately this is a good thing because that shows how strong Odie's is, right? It doesn't wash out. You can't find a solvent to cut it out there. That's kind of a testament to the strength of the product itself. Now, of course, I'm going to say something else, that you should always buff off by hand first. Get all that product removed with a towel by hand for a couple reasons. If you buff off with a bonnet, well, a lot of the time, those bonnets are expensive, and yeah, there is no washing that oil out of the bonnet, so you're not going to be able to reuse it, and you also risk the chance of polymerizing the oil on the surface, because if your bonnet gets loaded up with oil very quick, remember you only have a small surface area of bonnet, it's going to get saturated with oil very quick, and then you risk the chance of smearing the oil around on the surface more so than actually grabbing it and removing it off the surface. So what I would want you to do is buff the surface off by hand with a towel, get it to the point where it's dry to touch, and then you can go over it with a bonnet. So now I use a lamb's wool bonnet for that purpose, and it's kind of just an extra step, an extra measure to just ensure that every last little bit of oil has been removed from the surface. And more so, its purpose is to kind of generate a little bit of heat in the way of friction that kind of helps expedite the curing, the polymerization of the oil. Now, with my lamb's wool bonnet, I simply just take an old hacksaw blade and I gently rake the bonnet as it's spinning, and it rakes off that old finish. So I've been using the same bonnet for many years.
Any other questions out there?
Thank you. So I've just heard you can put 2 coats of Odie's on. Can you put more than 2 coats?
Absolutely, yeah. You can do essentially as many coats as you want. So typically with Odie's oil, the universal product, the main staple product, you can achieve full saturation in one single coat and provide all the protection and durability that's needed. Now, that's generally speaking with your domestic domestic hardwoods. When it comes to softwoods, pine or firs or things of this nature, maybe you need 2 light coats. You know, you might need a second coat to get that wood to the point of full saturation. And I would recommend at least a day in between coats if necessary to do 2 coats. Any coats above and beyond that aren't particularly for adding more protection and durability, because that's already provided with those initial coats. Ultimately, it will add a little more protection by doing subsequent coats, but it's really more about aesthetics at that point. Adding a little more sheen, a little more depth, building on that luster. The product will micro build upon itself. So it will cross link and bond to itself over and over and over and over again. You could do as many coats as you want. You could do 10 coats of Odie's, with a recommended at least 1 day in between coats. And essentially at the end, what you get is not 10 layers of finish like you would with a film forming finish, where you apply a layer, sand it back, apply another layer. You're kind of getting 10 layers of finish. With 10 application of Odie's at the end, because of it cross-linking and bonding to itself, you really get one harmonious coat of Odie's oil that has micro build upon itself. So you could do a coat of the super penetrating oil as your base coat to get that ultimate stability and that clarity. You could do 1 or 2 coats of Odie's to give you all that protection and durability and get the wood to the point of full saturation. And then you could build upon that finish with the Odie's wood butter, 1 or 2 coats. And then you could finish it off with a wax. So you can use all the products in conjunction with each other, more or less in any order as well, aside from the super penetrating oil, which would primarily only be used as a base coat, because of course it's super penetrating. You're not going to super penetrate over top of a piece that already has been finished with one of the other products. The super penetrating oil base coat only, to be used very, very minimally to provide that stability. And above and beyond that, you can apply more or less as many coats as you want, just ensuring that you're using them properly, not using too much, and most importantly, removing all that excess oil off after the application.
Does it raise the grain on the first coat?
It does not raise the grain, no.
And notice he just told me the entire product line.
So this piece that I was showing you, this bird's eye maple, there we go. This has 1 coat of solvent-free super penetrating oil on it. So there's no raised grain there whatsoever.
So a huge compliment to you. Craig is our kind of finishing guru. He just commented, said, I just placed an order for the dark oil, the 3 abrasive pads, and a t-shirt.
Oh, fantastic. And the t-shirts, with every purchase of a t-shirt, actually all the proceeds of the t-shirts go to the Lymphoma Cancer Society. So, well, thank you for the order.
Can you explain the difference between, like, for the hardwood floor business? Because I know that when people have come to look at hardwood floor finishing, you're talking about polyurethane, and this is definitely not that. So for the hardwood floor finishing, you said, what is the benefit or the pros and cons of each one in comparison to each other?
I'm just going to give you a general advantage of Odie's oil over a polyurethane finish on the floor. So sadly, in my personal opinion, a lot of the flooring business in a way with film forming finishes and engineered flooring and all these things, it's kind of a planned obsolescence. So a polyurethane finish only lasts so many years, and then you got to come in and you got to sand it off and you got to refinish it. There's no touch repairs. There's no spot touching up. There's no way to really fix the floor once you start getting, once that finish starts failing, and ultimately it does fail. And when it fails catastrophically. You have disengagement from the surface. It peels, it flakes, it chips, it turns yellow, and it wears away. You get wear patterns where you've worn back down to the bare wood, and there's no fixing it other than sanding it off and putting down another coat. You can only sand a floor so many times. Then you get down to the tongue and groove, and well, now you got to rip the floor up and you've got to replace the floor, and then the cycle continues. And then the health, the health effects from those finishes in the manufacturing of them for the planet, the application of them for the floor finisher, and then the homeowner that lives with said product. As you're abrading that finish away, you're turning it into dust, and now it's floating around in your home and you're breathing it in. So a lot of bad things happening throughout the whole life cycle of that process. Now, the way of thinking with an oil finish is, to kind of embrace that natural beauty of the floor. You finish it with an Odie's oil finish. It becomes one within the surface of the wood, living harmoniously within that wooden surface. And if and when it comes time for any maintenance, like I said, like the wide plank floors that James would create, they get more beautiful with age as they get the little bit of wear and tear from living on the floor. It makes the floor more beautiful. And then after 8, 9, 10, 15 years, all depends on how hard the client is living on the floor, you come in and you just give it a refresh with a fresh coat of oil, and completely safe to do. You can do it right in the house. You don't have to worry about any kind of toxic things. And you can extend the life of that floor for hundreds of years, because you never have to sand it. Unless it's a design change and you want to alter the color of the floor, that would be the only time where you actually have to do a sanding so that you could do a stain on the floor. You can spot repair, you can do touch-ups, and the homeowner can do that themselves. They don't have to hire a contractor to come in and do that for them, because you simply just wipe some oil on the floor and buff it off. That's the real difference. You notice, floors and doors that were made hundreds of years ago are still there hundreds of years later, because they were finished with oil finishes. An outside door, we've all seen it, peeling, flaking, chipping, looking horrendous. You got to sand it all off, scrape it all down, and refinish it. With an oil finish, you just simply give it a nice cleanup and give it a refresh with a coat of oil. And that same way of thinking is applied to a wooden floor.
What's the best way to get a hold of you if we want more information, and just go to Odie's Oil's website, or?
Yeah, Odie's Oil website, info at odiesoil.com. And I think they have the number on the website as well. And through Instagram as well, in the DMs. But if you have like a particular question or need advice or assistance with technical support, info at odiesoil.com.
Well, I would say on behalf of the Guild, thank you for all the time you spent with us. It was really informative. I know a few people in the Guild have used it. I'm excited about giving it a try myself. So thank you very much. Typically, we give you people that present get a mug. I want to figure out how to get you one out there in Canada. So
yeah, well,
thank you again.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate all the questions and the engagement from the audience, and hopefully I piqued some interest if some of y'all haven't used Odie's before, And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. And if you want to get me a mug personally, I think it would probably be best to arrange that to get sent to the home office in Odie's, and they can send it up to me with my next segment.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Everybody have a great night.
All right. That was awesome. Let's take a quick break. We have refreshments, and we'll do about 8-minute break, and we'll come back and do show and tell.
Hi, my name is Mike Jones, and welcome to another episode of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Today's video will introduce you to the safety rules and requirements of the Powermatic hollow chisel mortiser. Keep in mind that, like all safety videos, this video only covers the safety concerns of this machine and is not a complete training program for the use of this equipment. When in the shop, please direct any questions about using this or other machines to the on-duty shop foreman. He or she is there to act as your main resource in helping you to keep safe and provide advice in assisting you to successfully complete your project. Always remember, the most important of safety concerns is to wear approved safety glasses with side shields at all times while in the KCWG shop. Your regular glasses are not approved for use when participating in any shop activity while you are at the guild. Hollow chisel mortisers are used to cut square or rectangular holes in wood, generally for the mortise side of a mortise and tenon joint. The hollow chisel mortiser is equipped with a square chisel with a rotating auger bit within the chisel that serves to remove large amounts of material while the chisel cuts a square or rectangular hole, leaving the square corners and smooth walls of the mortise. Hollow chisel mortisers are similar to a drill press in that the mortiser combines the square chisel with the rotating drill bit in the center. The bit inside the chisel clears out most of the material while the chisel ensures that the hole is clean, square, and smooth inside. When using the hollow chisel mortiser, one must first install the proper size chisel. The Kansas City Woodworkers Guild has a selection of mortising chisels sized from 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch. The mounting of the chisel and bit requires that you mount the chisel into the collet while inserting the bit shank into the chuck. The chuck is identical to one used in a drill press. It is best to use a piece of scrap stock to hold the chisel and bit in place while you tighten the chuck with the available chuck key. Once the bit is securely mounted in the chuck, you then loosen the collet, holding the chisel, and raise the chisel about 1/16 of an inch, and then retighten the collet screw. It is recommended that you then turn the chuck by hand one complete turn to ensure that nothing is binding. There are stop screws that allow you to set limits on the side to side and front to back travel of the bed. If you're not familiar with the setup procedure, please ask the foreman on duty to help you with this procedure. It's very important to remember to have your stock securely clamped into position before turning on the machine and cutting your mortises. When cutting through mortises, please be sure to have a piece of sacrifice material under your work so that you don't risk cutting into the machine bed. Another important thing to remember when using the hollow chisel mortiser is at the position of the waste port on the chisel. You will want to mount the chisel so that the waste port is leaving the waste behind in the previously cut hole. This helps to allow the waste material to not build up inside the chisel and generate friction heat, which will dull the chisel and the bit prematurely. Please ask the shop foreman for assistance
if you're not sure how to set this up. It is also a really good idea to check the chisel and bit for sharpness before you start. A dull chisel can make things a lot more difficult and affect the quality of your mortise. Please ask the foreman to help you with sharpening the chisel if you're not familiar with how to do it. When you start the machine, be sure to never touch the chisel with the bit spinning. You should never allow your hands or fingers to be closer than 3 inches from the chisel when cutting your mortise. The auger is exposed on the side of the chisel where the waste port is located and can cause severe injury should you touch it. Remember, when cutting your mortises, the bit and chisel, ideally, should be fully engaged. Cut your first hole, then move the bed about 2/3 the size of the next hole to make the next cut. This puts less strain on the bit and eliminates the deflection of the chisel and bit and the high level of heat that can be generated by the deflection. Following this procedure will produce a cleaner cut and more professional looking results. Also, never try to hand hold the piece you're cutting. Your stock should be firmly clamped in the machine before you turn the mortiser on. Remember, the successful use of the hollow chisel mortiser is very dependent upon a good setup, especially when performing several repeat cuts on table or chair legs. When you're finished, you should take a few moments to check your work area, clean up the machine and the floor around where you've been working. This is Mike Jones. Thanks for watching.
Three numbers are 0, 8, 8. And for the blue bench thingy, last 3 numbers are 1, 2, 1. If those are your numbers, collect them, otherwise they go back in the closet.
Cal, you're up.
All right, everyone, let's grab your seats. That was a great program, but we're kind of getting late in the evening, and I want to be able to head home too. We got a lot of great show and tells, which is I'm super excited about. So let's grab your seats and let's get going. Hey, Matt, are you around? Matt wanted to say a couple of words.
Yeah, we're going to do show and tell tonight, of course, our most popular part of the meeting. Hey, guys! And one thing we're offering tonight is a gift certificate for those who have some show and tell item. And the way we're going to work it is it's not based on how good you are or how popular you are or whatever, how pretty you look. It's based on just drawing a ticket out of a hat or out of a box. So each show and tell person will get half a ticket or a ticket, whatever we're going to call it. And that's how, and then you get a $25 gift certificate to Lester Bloomer's Bloomer Hardwoods. It's not bad.
All right. Without further ado, come on up, Jim, and let's get to it.
by the way, just for your information, I contacted Odie's Oil and told them about our table project, and they sent us a dozen bottles, jars, for the table project. So that's what we're going to finish them with. If we have any left over, we'll give it away. But yeah, and that table over there has been finished with it. The first jar that I got, I did 5 tables with one jar. So it goes a long, long way. Okay, Matt.
Okay, what I got is our Artists Association has.
Hey guys, look at the camera.
Our Artists Association has an annual Christmas party we just did, and I usually try to come up with something that I did here at the Guild, and so I made this little, it's a box for holding my Christmas ornaments. I didn't bring them with me tonight, but just a pretty simple box. It's maple, sliding pencil top box, white oak. Got a little bit of magnet in there to keep it locked, keep it closed. Pretty simple. Just shellac finish.
Shellac? That's it?
That's it. Mitered corners.
Splines?
Walnut splines.
Okay. Top is oak?
Top is white oak. I hope to fume it in order to darken it up a little bit, but it'll be okay just as it is.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. You going to give that to us?
That goes back to the girl who actually wanted it.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty proud of it. It's the only item that got stolen the maximum amount of times during the typical Christmas party thing where people steal things from each other. Yeah.
Okay. What'd you steal?
I didn't have to steal anything. I got a whole bunch of 16 by 20 canvases, and I decided to keep them.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. In all due, we got a whole bunch of stuff tonight, and we got very little. We're kind of packed for time because of the program, which really informative. So I'm going to hurry you through just a little bit, but I want you to have a good time doing it as well. So keep that in mind, John.
Here. There. Get that out of the way. Okay, so this is a music box, jewelry box for my wife, Christmas gift, and made out of cherry, and the marquetry of the hummingbird on the top. That's about it.
What'd you finish it with?
It's shellac. There's about 8-10 coats of shellac on it.
Okay, and this is all the jewelry your wife has?
No, that's no, Jim, it's not. But it was just you've got limitations. I didn't have enough wood to make a bigger box.
I'll have to talk to her about that.
Yeah,
I'll have to buy her some more.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, can you tilt the box lid down so we can see it on the camera? So see the hummingbird. There you go. Little more.
So what?
Perfect.
What was the different woods that you used in the inlay?
Okay, so the neck is Purple Heart, ebony for the beak, a couple different pieces of walnut for the wings, the head, and the body. That's regular maple for the chest and then around the eye, and then there's some bird's eye maple that's part of the wing.
What's the base wood right here? The background
I was
wood?
afraid you were going to ask that. I did some resawing of a box a long, long time ago, and it might be English chestnut, but I don't remember, Jim. I didn't have it marked, and it was down there maybe 20 years or so.
Okay.
And then that's mahogany. That's on the border. If I'd done it differently, I think I would have put walnut rather than mahogany there.
Well, do another one.
John, did you make the the molded sides. Did you make those custom?
I did. I did that router bit similar to the legs. The legs were walnut, and there was a lot of time in those legs.
Awesome
getting
piece
the
of work.
molding and then cutting it and shaping it and then mitering it. There's a lot of work into that.
Awesome.
So
I bet Kath's really happy with that, huh?
yeah, she it took quite a bit to be able to bring it down here tonight, and she's been postponing it, filling it, and so she'll get to fill it tonight or tomorrow. Well, you know, there's a lot of work into that eye.
Very good. Any other questions? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Awesome piece of work. Wow. Who's next? Okay.
Okay, I took the Windsor chair class. This was the beginner kit, and it's a pine top. The rest is walnut, except that is cherry because they didn't have walnut pieces long enough. I had it splayed too far out, so I took what I could get. It was fun to work with. I used gels to finish it. I hadn't used gels before. I did a shellac wash coat first, and what else?
What'd you make splines out of? The top is splined. The
yeah,
wedges.
all the through tenons are splined. There's every one of them, and I think I used oak, something white.
Okay.
Something white and hard. I wasn't too particular. It's going in the shop, and the worst thing about it is the legs are so splayed that I keep bumping into it and kicking it, and it's I got to get used to it. It'll probably take a few years.
So this is your shop stool?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it took 2 days in the class to make it, and I also made a Windsor chair in the next portion of the class. So this was like my practice kit so I can finish the Windsor chair without messing it up.
And what did you put for finish on it?
Gels, I just used, first a shellac coat, cut
Okay.
50-50, and then just a nice pine gel here, walnut there, and I experimented with a cherry color gel there. Actually, I experimented on the bottom of the pine just to see what all those would do on a chunk of pine.
It's going to be interesting to see all the paint splatter and, dropping tools on it, see what it looks like in a year.
And I did measure the exact height so I could sit with my legs under my bench, and I don't bang it, and so that's nice. And I kept scorping that seat out and sitting in it. And so that is custom to my butt.
So it's the width is custom to your butt as well?
It provides for the future.
Yeah, it is. Very good.
That's about it.
Thank you. Nice looking piece of work. All right, who's next? And your name is?
I'm John Lundy. Been a member for 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, these are just some dice boxes that I made on the laser.
Hold your mic closer, John. Yeah.
Sorry. That's actually got a magnetic latch.
And you did this all in, this is all laser?
Yeah,
work?
that's all lasered.
Okay. Where'd you get the idea for this?
That's actually a design I got off of Etsy. Guy in Czechoslovakia, Vasily 39. He's got a lot of really brilliant designs.
And what are these?
on the front of this is a second piece that you can put a design on, and those
Okay.
are just different
Oh, I see. Okay.
different designs.
What do you put in these?
Dice or whatever. It's usually gaming accessories for Dungeons and Dragons and things like that.
Okay. You gonna continue with this idea?
Yes, I've got several other designs from him, and I haven't found anyone else making designs anywhere near as well.
Okay. So these are for your own personal use?
Yes, I also sell a kit of this on Etsy.
Okay. And what do you use for finish?
Just a General Finishes dye stain.
Okay.
Water-based.
And no sealer on it?
No, I probably will in the future put a just a basic clear coat on it.
Okay.
To protect it a little better.
So basically, all this is plywood.
Yeah, just it's scrap Baltic birch plywood.
Awesome
1/4 inch.
idea. Any questions?
What happens if the mimic eats you?
Say
You
that
get
again.
eaten.
What happens if the mimic eats you?
Eventually, you are digested. Yeah, this is a creature from Dungeons and Dragons called a mimic.
Any other questions?
Lundy Woodworking. Pretty
Very-
simple, huh?
Very good. Interesting.
Special feature is all wooden hinges. Kind of interesting.
Very good. Thank you. That's really unique. Jason, you had this here last time, didn't you?
I did have this here last time,
So-
but I brought this in for everybody to see what I'm trying to get to. There were some people here that were not at the December Christmas party.
Okay.
So this is a Kestrel painted in oil. It's a class I took with Dan Rubidoux back there, and this is my second Kestrel that I'm working on. So I splayed the tail out, cut the head off, turned it, tilted it down a little bit. You can see I'm starting to burn the feathers in on the back tail there. And my goal is to make this one a female and ultimately put feet on that one and feet on this one in habitat and have this one look more like it's fluffing and adjusting its tail feathers after landing. I also had mentioned that I had a cockatiel that passed away and had him for about 17 years, and my kids commissioned me to do a cockatiel or two. And I was just working out the dimensions and stuff for the skull. So you can kind of see where the beak, the nostrils, and the real reason I brought this in, because obviously you're not going to have a skull on the bird. It'll have feathers, was to show the differences in the beaks. So you have a parrot beak here that's designed for breaking open seeds and your finger. And then
How many fingers did he break?
he didn't break any fingers. He cut them open a couple times. Especially when I was scratching his head and stuff. He didn't like it all the time. And then this is a falcon, smallest falcon in America. And so you can see the differences in the beak.
Okay.
So that's why I brought that in. And the way I carved this was kind of interesting because, I kept the bird, preserved him. And then, so I know I got the beak exactly right, but I wasn't sure about the skull part of it. And I used to scratch his head so much that I would just close my eyes and kind of feel, and I'd be like, no, that's not right. And then, so I kept adding things. I did some research in ornithology manual that I have to get the different plates and stuff in the head. So this is more just practice. I found out a few days ago that you can actually order a cockatiel skull.
So you
from
didn't
a
have to
tax-
do that.
Yeah, I didn't have to. But the good thing is that I have a taxidermy replica of a cocktail skull coming, so I can compare it and see how close I got. So that'll be interesting.
Awesome. Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? Thanks, sir. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Awesome. Here we go.
Hi, I'm TJ Coyle. Been a member since
You got to put this
right up there. Been a member since 2020, end of 2020. About that time, we all had to switch hobbies, right? This is my fold-up game table. This is 1/8 of it. The idea came from originally, I wanted to do a 5x9 table for my husband's gaming hobby, which is also now his career. So I'm 2 years later, just assembling it. I actually came in tonight for advice and was talked into sharing. So this is a design I saw in a picture. This just died. Hello. Design I found online. I don't even know whose it was, but it was not mine, just telling you that. It was a different dimensions. And then I adjusted it because I wanted this table to be able to be collapsible, because who has room for a 5x9 permanent table in their home? Not me. We also have 3 floors, and we don't know which floor we're going to want to play the game on. So it needed to be able to be moved. So I adjusted it based on the tabletop, and then had to adjust the legs for that. Originally, the design I found only had one handle hole in the top. And then when I redesigned it, realized I had to put a handle hole in every leg and the top. And then when I put him in the top, I was like, well, that needs to be in a little bit different place. So now we have a different one. And it turns out it's really useful on the other side too. So this is where it's at. And right now, it's not quite as sturdy as I want it. So that's what I came in to see if I can get some advice from all you, because I know you don't share. So there you go. There's no finish on it. The easiest thing I can do. Sure.
Video games or tabletop games?
Tabletop. It's a table. Who else? Not video games. Those are permanently installed in the house. This is mobile.
You want to figure out how to use it, make it more stable.
Yeah.
You're asking for advice on how to do that.
Yeah, how to make it more stable. I know it needs a stretcher of some sort. I have bigger hinges on the way. The hinges on the top might be too big, but the ones on the legs are a little too small. So these here are a little small and wobbly. So I have some new ones that are a little beefier on the way. I think I might go a little smaller here. So I think I got hinges handled, maybe, unless you have a good supplier and know how to shop for hinges, because I don't know how to do that. But as far as structure goes, I had one idea given that I do like a fit in, like little notch here, and have a stretcher that just kind of slides in and fits across. But I'm not sure that's going to be quite enough. That's a great start.
Any suggestions?
2 stretchers. Too late. That's a really good idea. At this point, it might be too late. But I will see if I can figure that out.
If you could figure out some way to do a cross brace, that would really stop it from racking too, like some type of diagonal brace.
Yeah. Any ideas on how to do that? Yeah, I don't want to start over. Not yet. Let's talk about your idea in a minute. I like the sound of that. Still collapsible.
Okay. Well, keep us informed. Thanks for bringing that in. John?
Kind of embarrassing here, but Craig Arnold, you out there? Because this is your clock. I got this magazine. I said, I'm going to build that clock. I just looked at the magazine. It's 2012, so it's taken me 11 years to get started. So I got started on this pretty late. I like the clock. There's a few things, design elements I didn't care for, so I changed them because we have a lot of mission oak furniture in our home, and I wanted the square sides, not the round over. I didn't want to see the round over on the tile. I wanted glass in here and a dial. Changed the dimensions of a lot of this stuff. It made it a little bit more difficult. Pegs. I found a piano that was thrown away, and I pulled the keys off, and Les says he thinks they're pretty much ebony, so that's what I used for the pegs. Cut them to shape with the Japanese Dazuki pull saw, and ordered the tile online from Motawi Tile Company. It's about $60. But I know Craig's made a bunch of these, so.
Craig says he's watching online.
Oh yeah, and this is Odie's oil. I bought some, and I was going to use it on a project with my daughter, and we haven't done that project yet. I tried another project the other day, and it didn't work out, so I just wiped it off there with some denatured and put water locks on it, and I'm done with it. But I thought I'd try it on this, and it's worked pretty good.
How did you get it the dark color?
I dyed this. This is white oak. I went out to Rockler and bought the white oak. I'll probably fume the next one, but I didn't have time to do this one. I dyed it with non-grain raising Balin's dye in its hickory color, and let it dry a couple days, and then sanded it back down to bring the grain up. And then I went ahead and put the Odie's oil on it. I've added these. I've added feet. I've changed this bottom rail. There's quite a bit, but I did use the dimensions out of the magazine. So that'll go in our house. That'll be one of the clocks I'm making. I got another one drawn out.
You're intent on keeping time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did find out if you put the Odie's oil on there, fairly heavy, let it set an hour, buff it off with the terry cloth. I wasn't too happy with the sheen on parts of it, so when I went back over it, you put a very, very small amount on because it's already polymerized here. So when you go for the second coat, you have to use a very sparing amount, and I buffed it off. First time I've used it. It's probably not going to be my go-to finish because mostly I use shellac, water locks, hand and garden tools. I'll use linseed oil. Antique restoration is going to be shellac and lacquer. So that I've got about 8 different finishes that I like to use. I'm not going to stick on one, but this works all right for this because it's going to have natural wood look.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank
Nice
you.
job. Steve, you next. And your name is
Chris.
Chris?
Yep. All right, I got a laptop stand here I made for my laptop at work, just to kind of elevate it a little bit so I could see it a little bit better. It was kind of just a fun project that I did. I wanted to try out a bunch of different things. So top is sassafras, the ends are African mahogany, and then the Kamiko is all sassafras as well. And then there's a little piece of textured copper behind the sassafras. The top is, I used a CNC to route out this like circuitry pattern, and then I inlaid it with a mixture of epoxy and copper powder. So that's kind of what gives it the little the sheen on top. Yeah.
Oh, you can't see it because of the. You really can't pick that up. There you go.
There you can kind of see it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, the and then I did dovetails for the joints on the end. I cut those on the table saw. So I was kind of just trying to do a bunch of different techniques that I wanted to experiment with and learn. So
Okay, so where are you going to go with what you've learned?
build something bigger.
Okay. Got any idea what that is?
I want to do a table where with like a walnut table where I follow the grain and I trace that, and then I route that out on the CNC and then inlay that with a copper powder or something, so it kind of follows the grain structure around.
How big a table you planning on making?
Whatever fits on the table. Right now, 2x4 because that's the size of the table.
Whatever fits on the CNC machine. Okay.
Unless I get a shape or origin, so. But that's
really, you're not an electrical engineer, are you?
Nope. But I did tell people when I was sanding this, I had to ground my sander because it was shocking me so bad that I thought I was gonna break a circuit.
You need to stand on a rubber pad.
Oh, I know.
Any questions about this?
I
Nice. That is really unique.
I did learn which way is the X and Y axis on the CNC table.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, these were not the projects I was intending to bring this month. I wanted to bring the toy chest that I made for my grandson. They live in Boston, and I built it so that it could be disassembled and reassembled out there, thinking that we would ship it after the holidays. Well, it turned out they wanted to take it with them, so they checked it as luggage. It flat packed like an IKEA, and they got it all put back together again. But it's in Boston, it's not here, so I won't show it to you. But because I spent most of my time working on the tool chest, I had other projects I wanted to get done. Not a lot of time, and wood's expensive, so I went into the woods and got some Osage orange and made a back scratcher. This is from Rockler, and I highly recommend Rockler's back scratchers. If you've tried different types of back scratchers, this one is really premier. So that's a good one. I made that for my wife, but I actually ended up using it more. Oh, please. And then this was a little utensil for the kitchen for my wife. Again, Osage orange. And I'm a big fan of this wood. It's free, it's everywhere, and it turns very nicely. The challenge is to find a limb that's down, that hasn't been down too long so that it's rotted, but it's been down long enough to be dry so that when you finish it, it doesn't split and crack like crazy. So that's what I did.
Very good.
All right.
Any questions about this?
Shellac finish.
Very good. Thanks for bringing that in. Who's
I got a little sick and tired of my folding outfeed stand. Every time I touch it, it'd fold and fall over. So I found this designed by Michael Fortune in Fine Woodworking from 5 or 6 years ago. This one I had some old Doug fir, scrap pieces left over. It's got adjustable feet you can adjust from the top, which makes them nice. You can put any of whatever kind of head you want on it, or go without a head. I think it adjusts up to 44 inches, 33 to 44 inches, something like that. So kind of easy to adjust. One hand hold it up and the other tighten the knob and then cinch it down.
So, do you have a problem with pieces sagging and hitting here before they get to the rollers?
Well, normally when I'm using the rollers, I use it beside my table saw for plywood.
Okay.
If I'm at the band.
So it's not necessarily an outfeed table. It's for
the side table.
Okay.
If I'm at the bandsaw resawing, I just take the rollers off and raise it up 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
So
it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Happy you built it?
Yeah, I'm glad I did. I got a metal one I'll sell you real cheap sitting in my corner. I'll bring it in for raffle.
Yeah. Yeah, do that.
There'll be somebody here that doesn't know about them.
Make your junk their junk? Yeah. Okay. Thanks for bringing that in, Steve. What else we got? Okay.
I was busy at Christmas time trying to, I made a clock for each of the siblings in the family, and I kind of got outdone by John earlier, so I went with a cheaper tile. I didn't buy the high dollar Motawi or whatever they are. I got those tiles for 99 cents each on Etsy. But and then it's just on the back of each one. I want to thank Curtis for helping me out. On the back of each one, I inscribed to who it was for, and Merry Christmas and the year and so forth. So I made 5 of them all together. So it was it kept me busy.
What'd you finish them with?
Shellac.
Okay.
5 coats.
And are those battery operated
Yes.
clocks?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it from Clockit. I found out that our discount code from 10 years ago isn't any good anymore. So, but I had to check.
So are those all walnut?
Yeah, those are. Yeah, I made the one that didn't get a picture of that I made that's oak is. I made one oak and it goes to my sister. Those all go to my wife's brothers and sister.
Okay.
So. Did you batch them or build them individually? I batched them. That was the only way to do it. I cut parts and then put them all together. So what's the wood? Those are walnut, and the clock face is curly maple. And the quarter-hour markers are 1/4-inch brass stock. So.
Any questions about those? Very good. I'm sure they were well received. Anybody else? Yeah.
Les, get up.
Just to let everybody know, that is a model of the table that we're going to be building on Saturday for the next probably couple of Saturdays. So there it is. We've got, that's table number 10, and we're going to do 10 more. So and probably a few more after that. So, and that's finished with Odie's oil.
Okay, Chris, whenever you're ready. So most of you have probably seen me around here for the last year working on this project. So this is what the design development produced. It was it's called an Austensorium. This was built for St. Robert Bellarmine Parish out in Blue Springs. Next one. So obviously it started with the simplest part, the cabinet, building the stiles and rails and the raised panels. This was a little bit brain numbing, the whole experience. This is a dry fit of all the panels put together. And then, of course, I took the panels out, put them on the CNC, carved out the Alpha and Omega insignias on it, and then finished the panels before I did the glue up. Again, this entire project has been finished with Odie's oil. You got to be careful when you're using Odie's if you're going to do a pre-finish before you glue up, because glue will not stick to Odie's oil. It cleans up pretty easily, but it will not stick to Odie's oil. So you can barely see the Alpha and Omega in these panels. This is when the top was built. The idea was I wanted the display area, if you will. It's a carousel and it rotates. Bob and Jerry Deltweiler, who have been tremendously generous to the Guild, helping us rebuild the CNCs. I relied on Bob's expertise for not only getting this thing cut out on the CNC, but also doing all the electronic circuitry that operated the stepper motor that turns the turntable. So I had to form a back screen for it that sits on top of that turntable. I actually just used 3/4 inch plywood, cut 1/2 inch wide kerfs across the entire length of it so it was bendable, and then glued veneer on the outside of that, and didn't get real sophisticated with it, so I just used straps and strapped it all down and regular old Titebond 3, and it worked, surprisingly enough. So that's the top and the back of the cabinet with the back screen installed. And the next one, that's the componentry. I can't tell you enough about the brilliance of Bob Detweiler when it comes to electronics. The stepper motor that we put on this thing was huge. It was probably 4 inches square and 9-10 inches long, weighed a light ton, and all these little components that went to control this thing just to make that carousel turn. That carousel is mounted on top of a 24-inch diameter, 250-pound capacity Lazy Susan. Anthony Harris jumped in and helped me get the columns turned. I wasn't about to take these columns on. They were 52 inches long. Using Tuscan order, that's how we designed the column. And then back to the CNC for doing the entablature. Wasn't quite sure how to mask this thing off and found out that I could use Cricut vinyl. If anybody's familiar with the Cricut machines, it's a CNC cutting device. So I just went and bought a 12-inch roll of the vinyl Cricut material that's self-adhesive, stuck it on the walnut, put it on the CNC, and it worked out perfectly. It didn't lift, it didn't curl, it didn't do anything. And that also, again, gave me a masking surface to do the gilding of the engraving. So went to a dry fit at the church, made sure everything worked, and went back to work on getting the cornice built. This is the process of the cornice, and this actually took way longer than I expected because I ended up having to buy knives for our Woodmaster to make the final piece of trim, which is in the next video. You can't see it there. There it is. That cove molding, I bet I spent over $250 on knives just to make a 6-foot long piece of molding. Everything again finished in Odie's oil. A couple pieces I actually went so far as to lay on a second coat of Odie's. So once it was all done, went into the install, and this is an actual video of the thing working. There's a keypad on the opposite wall when you come into the chapel. You dial in the keypad and it activates the stepper motor, and that carousel proceeds to turn and reveals the monstrance inside the ostensorium. Is it working? Yeah. Well, suffice it to say, that thing turns and there's a really fancy gold thing inside of it. For those that aren't Catholic, it's a adoration chapel where you go and sit in the presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and their intent at St. Robert's is to do perpetual adoration there, which means they'll have somebody in that chapel, at least 2 people, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year except for Good Friday. There you go.
Questions?
What's the Latin? Ave virum corpus. Here lies the body.
Boy, you've used more.
Or actually, it's hail.
Complicated words today, and I've known you for about 30 years.
Impressive, isn't it?
Jeez.
There's all kinds of special words for stuff in the Catholic Church. It's kind of mind-boggling, really. Where's that church again? St. Robert Bellarmine out in Blue Springs, out on South 7 Highway.
All right.
What do you think hours you have in it?
I don't even want to think about it. I mean, literally, this project started first of last year. The design was done and approved in November of 2021. Started working on it in 2022. Couldn't find decent walnut anywhere. This is one of those jobs where you estimate the walnut at $8 a board foot, and you end up buying it for 12. That was my life with this whole project. The project was supposed to be done and installed for Easter of 2022. So I kind of missed that deadline. It was done and installed, finished December the 23rd.
Nice
I'm
Christmas.
glad it's behind me.
Nice Christmas present.
Yeah, they were quite happy. Here you go.
Very good.
Hey, Mike, what's the paint you use to gild the letters?
I actually just use gilding paint. I've tried gold leafing and engraving like that before, and it doesn't go very well. It's really difficult because the leaf tends to catch before it gets to the bottom of the V groove. So it was just so much easier. I have a small airbrush. I airbrushed it into the engraving.
Okay. One more. How's the fingers doing, Les?
All right.
You didn't want me to ask that question. Yeah? You didn't want me to ask about that, did you?
I don't care. It's hard as a rock. First of all, I've been turning 51 years this year. I started when I was 12. But all of my turnings...
So you're 75.
All of my turnings have been spindle turnings. You know, I'm a furniture maker. I made legs for tables, chairs. I've turned thousands of balusters. I've made hundreds of newel posts, that kind of thing. I've made turntable bases that were this big around. I've never made bowls except for one day. About 10 years ago, my wife was working. I was bored. I couldn't decide what to do, so I went out to the shop and I thought, I'll make a bowl. So this one is the first bowl I've ever turned. This one is the second one. I made 2 more that day, which was much larger than these. One was out of cottonwood burl, and I don't remember what the other one was, but my daughter has those. And somebody mentioned earlier today about this one being so thin, and somebody asked me about chip out. I said, that's why this is so thin. But my goal was to make it as thin as possible. This doesn't weigh very much. And it's
so what kind of wood is it?
It's a maple burl.
And this is white oak?
English brown oak. That's the natural color.
Okay, never heard of it.
Oh, I've made lots of stuff out of it. It's very expensive. That's maybe
bet.
why you haven't heard of it.
Yeah. But you don't find it at
You don't
Harbor
find it
Freight.
around here. It comes from back east.
Okay. Questions about these turnings?
Oh, and if you look at them, I like to do the bottoms kind of fancy. I turned the outside and the bottom first,
lip in there is where I chuck it on and turn the inside of the bowl.
So you chucked it onto this collar right here.
In here.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, very good.
And I'll probably never turn another one.
Any more? All right. You got the. Don't draw your own. Ticket number 152, last 3 digits. Oh.
Who was it, John?
That took you a while, John.
There you go. Congrats.
All right.
And so we're going to do more of that just to encourage the show and tell. So I thank you all for bringing your show and tell. That's just some amazing work, such variety. I love it. So I appreciate it. That's our program. That's our evening. It was thanks for hanging in with us. A little long, but I think it was all good stuff. So great to see everybody. Again, have a great week. Have a great rest of your month. We'll see you. Help us clean up if you can. Put up the chairs as usual. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our sponsors. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.